Hi and welcome to part 2 of this Design With Me series of videos. In this series we're designing, manufacturing and building a set of video lights. They're going to be modular, expandable to make a larger light or kept small for an easy portable light. In the last part we designed a circuit and then we also got those files sent off to a manufacturer. Now we've got the boards back. Let's take a closer look at them. So here we have one of the boards. I got about 30 of them. Let's have a closer look. This is the 4 in series of LEDs. So therefore this is the 12 volt side, but then if I turn it over, we have the option, if we want to populate it with 6 LEDs in series, of course the current limiting resistor as well. This is for 18 volt. So I'll bring you in a bit closer and we can take a closer look at this circuit board. So we've zoomed in a little bit. And as you can see, because it's a light, I chose to have it finished with a white solder mask finish. Normally white is pretty abominable to work with, and if I just lift this up very gently, sorry about the light glare, but you can actually see the markings of the tracks. All these columns here are all in series all the way down, and then there's a total of 10 of these columns. So with the 10 rows at 100 milliamps, this should be 1 amp current draw, and that's the same whether we've got running on 12 volt with just 4 LEDs in series, or running on 18 volts on the other side with 6 LEDs in series. Because they're in series, it's the same current that's getting put through them all. So what we're going to do, because I've now watched 1.5 YouTube videos about applying the solder paste using a stencil, which I've also got, which I'll show you in just a minute. Because I've watched 1.5 YouTube videos, I am now an expert at this, and so that's what we're going to do next. After I show you the stencil, we're then going to go out into the workshop and apply the solder paste to this board, and then apply the components, position them, and then we shall reflow it. But first we'll have a look at the stencil and how we're going to fix this in place on our stencil. So here we go. This is the stencil. A framed stencil is what I chose to get. It was only, I think, maybe about £4 more, and they increased the shipping by a few pounds. But because I didn't know what I was doing, I ordered it anyway. I thought, well, it costs a bit more, it must be better. Just to show you how big this is a sheet of A4 paper. I apologise in advance when I remove that. This has got a lot of glare off it. It's very, very shiny. So we have the cutouts for both sides of the circuit board. Bring up the circuit board. So here we have, this is the 12 volt side, so this is 4 LEDs in series along with their current limiting resistor, and of course here we have current limiting resistor and then 4 pads for the LEDs. Up above we have the 6 pads for LEDs, or sets of pads, and the resistor, so that's obviously for the 18 volt section. Put that next to it, you can see they line up perfectly. So from what I'm led to believe, if you're doing a high batch or a big batch of these any printed circuit boards that you're wanting to do this the stencil or use the stencil for, if you've got a lot of them, it's worth making up a jig that this stencil fits into, and the jig also would hold the circuit board exactly in the right place. It's worth doing that. It just makes things that bit easier and quicker for applying the paste. But even though I've got about 30 of these to do, I'm not going to be doing them all at once. I'm not doing a production run. I'm just doing a few at a time. So I will be doing this a little bit more manually. So what I need to do is I need to fix this circuit board in place, in exactly the right place. As you'll see in a minute when I move the camera and we try and align this, you only need to be a fraction off and it's very obvious. So you've got to be very precise. And then it's got to be held in place while the whole thing is flipped over and then the paste applied. This is the way I'm going to try and do it. I have got some tape. This is what's known as transfer tape. This is used in vinyl, adhesive vinyl. And so I've put just half on the board and half off the board. And then I've got to rearrange the camera so that I can show you how I line this up, and then I can then press down on the free part of the tape to fix it in place. One moment, please. So what we've got here, hopefully, is a dual camera setup. Colors may be a bit off. But on this side here, this is the back of the stencil, the back of the frame. It's from this side that the paste is applied through these holes onto the circuit board, which will be on this side here. So this is where it gets a little bit fun. As we try not to knock everything over. So as you can see, we're able to line up. You can see, hopefully you can see the shiny solder tin pads. And so you're able to gradually get them all in place. And then on the back, you're just able to put the sticky tape in. Now, as you can see down here, we are slightly off. But the good thing is that this tape is got a little bit of give, so we can just rearrange ever so slightly to be able to take up for this. And then I'll just get another bit of the tape, just the old belt and braces approach. And we can attach this onto the it's just like trying to pat your tummy while scratching your head or something like that. So, but that gives you the basic idea of how to do it. It's a lot easier to do when you're not filming it, but that is basically how we are able to get this particular problem solved. like I say, for short runs of this, it's easier to do this than to make up a whole big jig. But if you're doing hundreds of these boards, you'd obviously want some sort of jig. That's that. So next we shall head out into the workshop. So welcome to the workshop. We've got our frame out here with our PCB stuck in place. And we'll just flip it over. And as you can see, one side here is unpopulated. But then at the bottom you can see, sorry about that glare, you can see that it's all aligned as accurately as I can get it at the moment. So I've just been thinking, I know it's always a dangerous thing to do, but trying to think along the process as to releasing this PCB from the stencil. It'd be very easy to wipe off the paste partially or even totally and pulling the tape off or trying to move it about. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take off one strip of tape, and then I'm going to tape down another board butting up against this, sort of like a registration. Tape that down and then do the same on this side, and I may even put one at either one end or the other end, just so that basically this board can be just held in place while the stencil is turned over. And you can see that it's in place. That's fine. Whenever finished, it'll just be a case of lifting up the stencil. The PCB with paste on it should stay on the bench here. Hopefully, that's the plan. We shall see if it works. But I think this is going to have a better chance of success than flipping this over and then trying to peel the tape away without moving the board. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Put that like that. Hopefully, yeah, this, I may have this too tight, of course, now. Sorry, a bit out of shot. I'm not sure if that will drop out by itself. Yes, is the answer. It will. Let's just slide that back into place. So now we can see it looks like we're all aligned, but we shall have to be careful not to drop it on the floor. That would not be good. Just get a couple of clamps onto the frame. That holds that nicely down. I think that's going to work out much better. Much better. So I'll bring you in a bit closer and then we can start applying the paste. Paste that I'm using is this Chip Quick. It's 6337 mix. It is leaded, very non-PC, I know. Just a little tub. This is a 50-gram tub. And I've just been carrying this around in my pocket for the last, I don't know, 25 minutes. Just warms it up. Apparently, so I'm told from the 1.5 videos I watched on this, that makes it easier to spread and more likely to fill in the holes in this template or stencil. So that'll be the next step. I'm just going to change the camera position so you can get a better view of what's going on.